So coming up this weekend is going to be UFC Fight Night Song versus Gutierrez. Now it is worth noting that this fight was meant to originally be taking place in Shanghai in China in an arena, but only about 2 weeks ago that was cancelled and the whole card was shifted to the UFC Apex, and as a result of that the road to UFC finals were cancelled, which was meant to be on this card, as well as one other fight. So the UFC lost 5 fights, and what they've done is in the last 2 weeks they have scrambled together a card to create a card. So this card's a bit of a mess. We've got a lot of fights that were made on short notice, a lot of fighters that were signed on short notice to debut on this card, just to fill up the card, to make sure that it's going to be at least a presentable UFC card. And with all of that being said, this is probably going to be a bit of a downgrade from UFC Austin, because UFC Austin as a card was absolutely fantastic. Lots of finishes, lots of big performances. It's amazing that fighters just put on better fights when they're fighting in front of a crowd. It's absolutely insane to me. But anyway, I digress. Before we do get into my predictions, you do have a few affiliation links there. The first one is my BetUS link. You sign up, you get a 100% sign up bonus if you do follow the instructions that are in the description below, as well as Bet Online, 100% sign up bonus. Use my link in the description below. And with We Want Picks, there's so much going on with We Want Picks right now. There are so many channels giving their input on that premium membership service, as well as all the tools that you do get with that as well. You get Angelo's bets, Jacob's bets. You get like 5 different channels input on the fights every single week. If you want to check it out, sign up using the code ARTEM for a 3-day free trial, and you can cancel it at any time during those 3 days. So if you don't like it, you can cancel. Otherwise, it is $10 per month, and it is probably the best $10 per month that you can spend when it comes down to this specific sort of thing here, because it is a lot of value for money. So with all that being said, now let's get into my predictions. The first fight of the night is Steve Garcia versus Melquizael Costa. This fight has been rebooked to this weekend. It was originally meant to be on that UFC Austin card, but Steve Garcia fell ill, and now they've rebooked it. So I'm going to go over it quite quickly, because I have broken this fight a couple of times before on the channel, but I'm more confident in Melquizael Costa than I was because of the Steve Garcia. Obviously, both guys have to cut weight twice, but Garcia fell ill while doing so he might struggle to make the weight again. Who knows, he might not be 100% on fight night. And Garcia as well is a big guy for 145. He probably has to cut a lot more weight than Melquizael Costa does, because he's a former lightweight. He didn't really look super small at lightweight, but he does look pretty big at 145 pounds. Melquizael Costa as well is a very, very good aggressive fighter with that shooter box Muay Thai style. Garcia, his chin worries me. Got dropped by Shea London and Becky. Dominated Chase Hooper, but he got KO'd, flatline KO'd by Mahashate Hayasea. And he got dropped twice by Charlie Ontiveros. These aren't things that I like seeing, man, especially when you're taking on a guy that's aggressive, high volume in Melquizael Costa. Yes, I do understand that Steve Garcia is a very good fighter, but I do worry about the chin, the double weight cut, the illness potentially not being 100%. I just can't pick Steve Garcia on those means. Give him Melquizael Costa to win by knockout in this matchup here to open up the card. The next one's going to be Daniel Marcos taking on Carlos Vera. This is one of those fights that was made on incredibly short notice to save the card, I guess you could say. Carlos Vera was on the Ultimate Fighter, and he was a 36-year-old prospect that they brought in. And to be fair to Carlos Vera, this is his opportunity to get into the UFC. The UFC must have called him up probably a few days ago, and he was like, you know what, I'm never going to get an opportunity to be in the UFC again. Let's take on Daniel Marcos. And to be honest, Daniel Marcos, I don't think is the scariest 15-0 fighter on the planet. Yes, he's got a beautiful record in 15-0, but I was actually picking him to lose in the fight that got cancelled against Victor Hugo. I thought Victor Hugo was going to submit him. I believe Hugo fell ill and pulled out. Big shame we lost that fight. But I do believe Marcos beats Vera. Now, Vera was billed as a striker on the Ultimate Fighter, but most of his wins do come by submission, which is a bit odd. But if Marcos can keep the fight on the feet, which I do think that he can, he should be the better striker. He should be able to outstrike Carlos Vera. But if Carlos Vera is a massive, massive underdog, I mean, maybe I could see something happening, but I just think that Marcos is better than him on the feet. Marcos is a striker. I think that he should be able to keep the distance. Both guys do have pretty long reach for bantamweight. I like Marcos to win. Most likely a decision. Vera's a tough guy, and Marcos just hasn't really shown insane levels of power yet. This is another fight that was put together on short notice for this card. I believe this one was announced a few days ago at the time of me recording this video. Rayanne dos Santos taking on Talita Alencar. Talita Alencar was on the Contender Series. I believe she was actually called up on short notice to fight on the Contender Series. And now she's been called up on short notice to fight in the UFC. Both of these girls are very, very small for strawweight. You will see that Rayanne dos Santos has been fighting at atomweight recently. She's actually the Invicta atomweight champion, where she looked really good against Jillian de Courcy. She actually had a pretty competitive fight against Denise Gomes that was super scrappy. Talita Alencar looked really, really small when she took on Stephanie Luciano at 115. So both of these girls are going to be small for women's strawweight. But maybe with time, Rayanne dos Santos could build on just a little bit of weight, a little bit of muscle to fill out into a frame that will be better suited for this weight class at 115. Unless the UFC really wanted to go atomweight. I have done a video on that before. But I like dos Santos in this matchup because Talita Alencar's cardio didn't look very good. Her striking looked absolutely awful. I believe she has a crazy jiu-jitsu background. Dos Santos is a grappler for the most part, but she will be the better striker in this fight. If she decides to play it smart and keep this fight on the feet, she should be able to beat Alencar on the feet, and Alencar's cardio is something to worry about for sure. I think that we're going to see Rayanne dos Santos go out there and have a lot of success. The way that Alencar got a draw in her fight against Stephanie Luciano was Luciano absolutely demolished her in, I believe it was round number 3, because Alencar gassed out. But anyway, I'm picking dos Santos here. Alencar does have a crazy BJJ background, but dos Santos had a good fight with Denise Gomes in a fight that was on the feet for a lot of it. Denise Gomes has gone on to do some good things with her career. I think dos Santos beats Alencar. She's a bit more well-rounded, better striker. Now we can move on to Stephanie Iga versus Luana Santos. Once again, picking the fight that I think is the better striker in this matchup, and that is Luana Santos. Now, I'm not as confident in Luana Santos as some people are, but at the end of the day, she looked really good on the feet when she did take on Juliana Miller. It was knocked her out in round number 1, and Stephanie Iga has absolutely no striking whatsoever. Stephanie Iga has an incredible judo background, an incredible grappling background, great grappler, great judo player, kind of a decent wrestler as well. But at the end of the day, Stephanie Iga's striking is just not good, and it's not getting better. And I think it's just kind of gotten to the point where we've just got to accept that Stephanie Iga's striking is not going to improve at this point. Luana Santos can grapple, but she will be much, much better off keeping this fight on the feet. I believe that she can do that. I believe that she can knock out Stephanie Iga. I'm actually not too sure if this was a short notice fight just kind of made for this card. I'm pretty sure it was, because I don't know. Yeah, it definitely was, because I don't know why they would put this fight on a China card originally in Shanghai. So, yeah, definitely a short notice fight. I like Santos, though. I think she beats Iga. Iga's coming off that loss to Arina Alexeyeva, where I believe she might have got a little bit of an injury from the knee bar. Either way, Santos is the much better striker. Iga is going to be hard to submit, but at the end of the day, I think she knocks her out or wins by decision. If Santos wins by finish, it's most likely by KO. Iga's striking just is not good, man. And now we have Kenan Song taking on Kevin Jousset. I actually quite like the matchmaking in this fight. I think this is a fun fight. I think this is a good fight. This was originally meant to be on that Shanghai card, which would have been a cool opportunity for Kenan Song, as he has been in the UFC for so long. But now we're going to have it in the Apex. So we've got Kevin Jousset, made his debut at UFC 293, I believe it was, against Kiefer Crosby. I was there in attendance when he did it. Kiefer Crosby kind of got in an awkward position on the ground, and it was just a situation where Jousset just easily got the rear naked choke. It was actually too easy, to be honest with you. But he's looking good on the feet. He's a city kickboxing guy where his striking has improved. The guys are very, very high on him over there at city kickboxing as well in his striking. But he's got a judo background, and he's got a grappling background. And I believe if he goes out there and tries to take down Kenan Song, I think he will have a lot of success in this matchup. And even then, on the feet, maybe he could be the better striker, and maybe he won't be severely outmatched if Song is the better striker, because we know that Kenan Song is a good striker. He's just a little bit low volume. He's a little bit hittable as well. Very susceptible to leg kicks is Kenan Song. But at the end of the day, Kevin Jousset has the option to use his judo, to use his wrestling, to use his grappling, as well as his kickboxing, which the guys at CKB have been saying is elite. Now, it is worth noting that we have been sold Wolf tickets in the past from fellas from CKB. I'm from New Zealand, so I'll go out and say it. Blood Diamond, man, we were sold wolf tickets on Blood Diamond. I think Kevin Jousset could be the real deal. I am picking Kevin Jousset in this matchup. A low confidence pick, though. I do want to see a bit more out of Kevin before I really start jumping on that hype train. I think he should be able to get past Kenan Song, who is a gritty veteran, who has turned away good prospects in the past, and almost turned away in Gary, which would have been a crazy win if he was to pull it off, because I believe he took that fight on short notice as well. Now we've got Tatsuro Taira taking on Carlos Hernandez. If you guys haven't noticed the trend, a bunch of people on Twitter did. Tatsuro Taira has fought a lot of people with some Mexican background in the UFC. He comes into the UFC, takes on Carlos Candelario, and then CJ Vergara, Jesus Aguilar, and Gutierrez. I don't know what's going on with that matchmaking, but hey, I don't think it's intentional. It clearly isn't. It's just something that people have noticed. But I do believe Tatsuro Taira can beat Carlos Hernandez. Now, this is going to be a tough fight, though, because Carlos Hernandez is better than Gutierrez, and Gutierrez was giving him problems. Now, it is worth noting that Gutierrez is massive for 125 pounds, and if you do look at Tatsuro Taira, he doesn't really have a lot of muscle to him. He kind of relies a lot on his technique and a lot on his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to get the fights done and get the fights won. But I'm actually kind of happy with what the UFC is doing with this fight, though, because Tatsuro Taira is a guy that's not even 24 years old yet, has a crazy 14-0 record. The UFC could build him up over time, and that's what they're doing right now with this Carlos Hernandez matchup. But it does come down to, again, Carlos Hernandez is deserving of this opportunity. He got a very good win over Dennis Bondar. A lot of people think it's a KO. At the end of the day, I actually thought that the technical decision was the right call, but I think I might be on an island on that one. But anyway, lost to Alan Nascimento, but Alan Nascimento is an absolute monster at 125 pounds, and he's on this card, so I'll talk about him a bit later. Beat Victor Altamirano. I'm going to be honest, I thought Victor won that fight. I thought Daniel Barrios beat him as well in the Contender Series, but hey, a little bit of cope there because I picked Victor and Barrios. But one thing I will say, though, Hernandez looked much better against Dennis Bondar than he has in the past. So you can tell that Hernandez is making rapid improvements, but at the end of the day, he's going to have to stop the very aggressive offensive wrestling and grappling that is Tatsuro Taira. And although Tatsuro Taira, he's not really getting exposed, but a lot of these fights are a lot closer than I think the UFC probably wanted, because I believe at this point in his UFC career, the UFC was probably quite prepared to give him big steps up in competition, but struggling to Gutierrez, I know it was on short notice, isn't the best look. He still has struggled with some fighters in the past as well. He beat Jesus Aguilar very impressively, it is worth noting. But Taira, by submission in like the third round, I think is pretty likely. If he is stuck on the feet with Hernandez, it's going to get interesting, because Hernandez's striking is improving massively. His boxing is pretty good. If he can defend those takedowns, I think he's going to be in a pretty good spot to maybe put Taira in trouble, but at the end of the day, I think Taira's wrestling and grappling should be enough to overwhelm Hernandez. And now we can move on to Hyun Park taking on Shannon Ross. I'm very, very happy that we get to see Hyun Park's debut in the UFC. If you guys are unfamiliar with him, he did fight on the Road to UFC tournament last year, where he did defeat Seung-Guk Choi in the finals, and a comeback win. I mean, I thought that Seung-Guk Choi might have been up. I actually picked Seung-Guk Choi in that fight. I thought my pick was looking pretty good because he was the underdog. Hey, I got it taken away from me at the end. Good win for Park. He beat Top Noi Karam, who's a fighter that I love Top Noi Karam. Hey, I'm a big Top Noi Karam fan, man. I love Top Noi Karam. Won't say anything bad about Top Noi, but he did get dropped in that fight. And if Top Noi had better fight IQ, he probably would have finished it. But Hyun Park caught Top Noi himself, got him in the submission. Good win. Defeated Jeremiah Sirigar, who was just a guy that wasn't his level, to be honest with you, from Indonesia. Before that was beating guys over in South Korea. Shannon Ross. It's kind of hard to see for Shannon Ross. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Shannon Ross got signed to the UFC past his prime. He's 1-3 in his last few fights. And he's been taking so much damage, man. Against Vinicius Salvador, he took so much damage in a loss there, but he made it pretty competitive. And he fought that fight, I believe, like very, very sick. So his manager, Shannon Ross probably has the best manager on the planet. So his manager got him into the UFC, even though he lost by finish. And then he gets KO'd by Clayton Rodriguez with that spinning kick. Kind of got swarmed there, got finished. And then Jesus Aguilar sent him to his father. Shannon Ross saw God for a second when Jesus knocked him out. That was crazy. But at the end of the day, I think Shannon Ross, I just worry about the durability now, man. Now, I know Hyun Park, you do see a lot of finishes on his record, but Hyun Park isn't this crazy guy at 125 that's knocking everybody out. But the durability for Shannon Ross, I think it's gone. I think Hyun Park is going to catch him with something. Whether that's a KO, whether that's a submission, because Park is more of a grappler than a striker, I guess you could say, but he does strike if he wants to. I don't know, man. Maybe I've got to go with Park. I think Park finishes him. And I think he finishes him by KO in like round 1 or 2, man. Park isn't a guy though that is just gonna go out there and get a lot of KOs, get a lot of finishes. But you got to kind of consider the opponent, the damage that Shannon Ross has taken. I worry about the durability. Man, it's just a tough situation to kind of be in, really. But now we can move on to Nasrat Haqparast. I just realized I think I've picked every single favorite on the card. Not intentional, but it is what it is. Nasrat Haqparast taking on Jamie Mullarkey. I was disappointed in Jamie Mullarkey in his last couple of fights. I was very disappointed that he lost to Muhammad Naimov. Made me look like a bit of an idiot. I thought he was going to dominate Naimov. Now, we have learned that Naimov is a lot better than I thought he was, for sure. I mean, Naimov coming to the UFC and looks like a completely different, reinvented fighter than he looked like on the regional scene. Knocks out Jamie Mullarkey, so Mullarkey loses to him. And then against John Makdessi got cut from the UFC off this in a decision that you really could give to John Makdessi, man, which is ruthless. Ruthless from the UFC, cutting Makdessi in a fight that he could have won. Like, surely, just give him one more fight, you know? I don't know. One fight contracts definitely don't exist, but, you know, like, that was just rough stuff, man. Maybe Makdessi's still on the roster, but I'm pretty sure he's not anymore. Nasrat Haqparast went to war, though, with Landon Quinones about 2 months and 2 weeks ago. I was at that card. I was watching live. That was a banger of a fight. The crowd was super dead, though, which was kind of disappointing, but that was a good scrap. These guys landed mad volume on each other, but at the end of the day, Haqparast did get the better of it. Haqparast is a boxer wrestler that doesn't really wrestle that much. He kind of just boxes. Now, Mullarkey can win this fight. This is absolutely a winnable fight for Jamie Mullarkey, but I just don't trust him anymore, man. That's kind of what it comes down to. He didn't look good against John Makdessi. He didn't look good against Muhammad Naimov. He got caught. I think that Nasrat Haqparast is going to be able to land more volume and outbox him for 3 rounds. Maybe even get takedowns. Mullarkey probably will be the guy getting the takedowns if he wants to, but I think Nasrat boxes him up for 3 rounds. Gonna go with Haqparast by decision. Mullarkey has it in him to beat Nasrat, though, man. I could absolutely see him winning. But I just haven't liked what I've seen for him in his last 2 fights at all, to be honest. So now we can move on to Andre Muniz taking on Junyoung Park. And Andre Muniz, his losses have not aged well. He loses to Paul Craig, who just got out-grappled by Brendan Allen. And then he lost to Brendan Allen. Okay, well, anyway. But anyway, Andre Muniz, he has not looked like his losses have aged very well. And Junyoung Park is a guy that has been deserving of a ranked opponent recently, and I'm very happy that he gets the opportunity here. It's a shame that it isn't in front of China, in front of a Chinese crowd, which isn't his home crowd, of course, but they would have probably cheered for Junyoung Park instead of Andre Muniz, who is from Brazil. On the feet, though, Junyoung Park is a wrestler, for the most part, I guess you could say, but he's a bomber on the feet, man. He's not super technical, but he lands some big shots. He can wrestle, he can dominate in the ground. I believe his last win was over Dennis Tulin. No, it wasn't. He beat Albert Duraev by submission, which is impressive, but he dominated Dennis Tulin. Tulin had absolutely nothing for him when he got the fight down to the ground. But in this matchup, though, we all know what Andre Muniz does. He come up looking very, very impressive as a grappler, submitted Jacare Souza, and then he submitted Eric Anders easily, and then he beat Uriah Horn, a very boring decision, but we're still high on Muniz. And now it's like, how good is Muniz really? Maybe this line at plus 180 is reflective of that, and maybe there will be people picking Muniz as a big underdog. But on the feet, man, I like Junyoung Park on the feet. The thing about the striking, though, is Muniz looks really good on the feet against Brendan Allen, which is a little bit odd. But on the feet, Junyoung Park's an absolute bomber. He could wrestle if he wanted to, but he'd have to try and be very, very safe. But I'm going to go Junyoung Park here. I think that there might actually be a lot of stalling against the cage, which could be quite boring, but Yeah, I'm gonna go Junior Park. I think Junior Park wins by decision or knockout in this matchup here. A lot of people on the KO side for Park. Hey, let's go the Iron Turtle. I've got Park probably by decision most likely. And then we have a very interesting matchup here. Anthony Smith versus Khalil Rountree. Sorry, I've got a cough. I do apologize. Anthony Smith versus Khalil Rountree. Why is Khalil Rountree a minus 250 favorite, man? Like, I am picking Khalil Rountree, but it's a low confidence pick, and I know Anthony Smith has taken this fight on short notice, and I know Anthony Smith has not been looking very good recently. But this is not a good stylistic matchup for Khalil Rountree at all. Khalil Rountree, if you guys don't know, has been in the UFC for a long time. He has never, ever got a takedown. He is a Muay Thai striker, and that's it. This guy doesn't grapple, he doesn't wrestle. Obviously, defensively wrestles to defend takedowns, but his takedown defense isn't incredible. And Anthony Smith could come out here on short notice and get Khalil Rountree down to the ground. This is a very risky fight for Anthony Smith as well, because I believe he's taking it on short notice down the rankings. So he must be getting paid to take on this matchup. But it is actually a rematched fight. No. I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute idiot. Sorry, it's almost midnight as I record this video. This is a fight which Khalil Rountree was meant to fight Azamat Murzakanov, and now Anthony Smith has taken this fight here. I don't know why he's really taking it though, fighting down the rankings on short notice. He must be getting paid. Stylistically, it is a good matchup for Anthony Smith, as he is mostly a grappler. Now, he can strike, but that's not the main part of his game. The main part of his game is the grappling, but I think the fight does take place on the feet for the most part, and Khalil Rountree is a very good striker. He's a very powerful striker. He's got a lot of power. I think he can knock out Anthony Smith. I am going to pick Khalil Rountree to win by KO over Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith did recently beat Ryan Spann, but Ryan Spann is just the most inconsistent fighter on the roster. I'm telling you. Anyway, let's just move on to the main event. I apologize that co-main event breakdown was a bit terrible, but hey, this is a fight I'm very excited for, man. Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. If you guys don't know, I am a big fan of Song Yadong, man. He's only 26 years old, already had like 28 professional fights. He's been in the UFC since he was super young. He's almost like grown up his MMA career in the UFC, and now we're starting to see the fruits of his labor. He was having a very competitive striking fight with Corey Sandhagen before the fight got stopped due to that cut over his eyebrow, and then he takes on Ricky Simone and has a big come-out performance, defends a lot of takedowns, beats up Ricky Simone on the feet, ends up knocking him out. That's a fight that a lot of people were picking Ricky Simone to win as well. And we see Song Yadong go out there, put on an incredible performance, incredible striking performance, incredible defensive wrestling performance as well. And that takedown defense is improving, training that team alpha male. Now he's taking on Chris Gutierrez. This kind of come down to the UFC really needed a main event in China, and they, for some reason, didn't want to do Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan in China. I don't know what's going on there. That is like the perfect Chinese headlining card fighter, but anyway. Chris Gutierrez steps up. Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. We've seen Gutierrez look a little bit disappointed in the past. He beat Frankie Edgar by KO, but then got exposed a bit by Pedro Munoz, and then goes out there against Alateng Haley and has a pretty good performance, but Alateng Haley is not the same level that Song Yadong is, and I think that Song Yadong, man, he was having a competitive striking fight with Corey Sandhagen before the doctor stopped the fight. It was competitive. Round 1 and 2 could have gone to Song Yadong. You could score them both to Song Yadong. You could have it 2-2 going into the 5th round. A lot of people had it 1-3, but Song Yadong was good on the feet. I think he goes out there and knocks out Chris Gutierrez, man. So, I'm going to go with Song Yadong by KO. If Gutierrez wants to wrestle, we've seen Song Yadong's takedown defense. He defended so many takedowns against Ricky Simone. What can Chris Gutierrez try and out-wrestle Song Yadong? That would be the most UFC thing ever, but I like Song Yadong. I like Song Yadong by KO. I think he gets it done. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That was a pretty quick breakdown because it's literally midnight as I record this. It always is, man. I think it's just because I'm so busy on Sundays because I've got summer courses at university, and actually today I had a disc golf tournament as well. It's all go. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Got a lot of big things coming soon. Gonna start a new YouTube channel soon, so keep your eye out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.